Okay, you asked me the question, what was my first experience of religion? Um, I didn't have any religious experience as a young person, but my first experience of religion, organised religion, occurred when I was 6 or 7 years old. I and my older brother and sister were sent to a Salvation Army Sunday school in Elizabeth, a working class town of Elizabeth, where I was brought up. Um, my parents weren't religious, and they never talked about religion as far as I can remember. Um, they started sending us to this place. They didn't go in themselves, and this lasted for about 4 years before my my older brother and sister really decided to rebel against this and say no. There was a big fight about it, I remember. Say no, we're not going anymore, and so we all stopped going. But my feeling about it was one of confusion and perplexity, and definitely skepticism. Although, of course, I didn't know anything about skepticism at the time. Um, so we went to this place, sang songs, really awful songs as they did, and and it was mainly young people, kids, and youth, and a few oldies dressed in their uniforms, the Salvation Army. And one of the songs that was regularly sung was "Onward, Christian Soldiers," which was a song about onward, Christian soldiers marching as to war with the cross of Jesus going on before. So I thought, I had to try and work this one out. So this was an army of people who were marching, but thankfully not to war. But they had this cross of Jesus that they weren't actually going to hit people with, but presumably they were going to hit them with the idea of Jesus, and that was going to sort of knock them about a bit and wake them up or something. It was quite interesting, and the guy that ran it, who delivered the sermons and so on, we just called him the captain all the time. So it was a very interesting military affair. Anyway, one of the things that really made me question all of this was just praying, which they started asking you to pray, and everything would go silent, and you were supposed to be this presence presumably was supposed to be filling your head, and you were supposed to be communing with it. And of course, nothing like that ever happened to me, and I just found this uh, embarrassing, and I found it embarrassing because I thought it was all unreal, and I couldn't believe that people really thought this way, and this was being imposed on me in this way. I thought this way a lot when I was a kid, that adults were imposing these strange things on us. But anyway, this was one of the most bizarre. So I just sort of went along with it, I suppose. I had to, but I didn't really take it on board that there was this being. But I obviously had to wonder about what they were talking about. And one of the things that really disturbed me about it was that they kept calling him the Lord, and all of this, and it was very, very sort of master slave sort of stuff. We were as nothing, and this was the Lord and Creator who we had to be constantly thanking, and every song was about thanking the Lord, and being grateful for I suppose His gift of life and His gift of His bounty and all of this sort of thing. And it began to grate on me quite a bit. So I guess I first started to wonder about a big issue with this going to Sunday school. Um, and one of the things that obviously disturbed me was this idea that God wanted us to worship Him. He was a perfect being. He created us. he was apparently really obsessed with us and wanted to know if we were doing the right thing and if we were, worshipping him and obeying him enough. Although he never gave us any instructions, as far as I could gather. I mean, they said that he did, but I didn't hear anything. So it was all a bit bizarre, and it didn't really wash with me at all. There was also, probably early on, I think I questioned the maleness of this God. He was this. Why would he be male? I mean, I had to try to imagine what this entity was. I didn't think of God as human, but I thought of maybe a mind of some sort. That was the analogy that I had in mind. That was the idea of a being that was disembodied, that could therefore go anywhere and infiltrate everything. But then, if this God was all-knowing and all pervasive, you didn't need to pray to him because he knew everything that you thought anyway. So there's this whole ritual of prayer seemed for our benefit. It couldn't possibly be for him. Did he ever say that that's how you're supposed to communicate with him? I don't think so. I didn't hear anything about that. So the whole thing about going to a particular building where you worship this being, why would you worship him anyway? But if you did have to worship him, why did you have to go to a building and sing these terrible songs and with tambourines and stuff? Of course, this was all happening in the 60s, and there was a lot of fun things happening in the 60s. The Beatles were on the radio a lot, and there was it was a very lively atmosphere, but not in the Salvation Army Hall where I was communing with this supposed supernatural being. So it was a strange experience, and one that I was glad that I had, because it certainly raised a lot of thoughts in my head. But I never believed it for one moment, and I've never really looked back from then.